Thank you. Ni hao. It's funny because sometimes I'm introduced as an artist, sometimes as an architect, sometimes as a designer, and somehow I never really felt comfortable with these kind of tags, so to speak. New York Times recently quoted me being the hippie with a business plan. And I could sort of appreciate that a lot, because I think that's what really is important. And I think the lecture of the Design Museum before me addressed that. That on one hand, I think we need new dreams, new ideas, new ideologies, and have the guts to invest in them. But at the same time, there should be a desire to make it happen within the now, and to sort of merge these worlds together. And basically, I want to talk a bit about that today. I think we have seen great architecture of Toyo Ito and all these designers and things like that. And of course, this is super, super important. But today, I thought it would be more interesting to start with, to show actually some of the most important person in my life. One of the most important female in my life, so to speak. It's not a real person, but a really important woman. And let's start with that before we go into the projects. This is her. This is Heather. And Heather is a plant I have. Why do I have this? Okay, so I'm similar like you. I'm traveling a lot through different cities. And I have a lot of plants because I like to have living things in my room. But after I come home after 3 or 4 weeks, they are all dead. Because they miss water, and I don't want to share my key with other people, etc., etc. And so this was really disturbing for me. You come home after a long travel, and then you have all these dead things in your room. Not nice. So I started Googling a bit, and I found this Botany Cell kit, which you can buy for $50 and it is a little microchip in itself, a water sensor, a sort of a drop thingy. And so every time Heather wants water, she sends me an SMS on my mobile phone, which says, feed me. And I can say yes or no. It's a relationship. But it's sort of really nice because I come at home and, they're all still alive. But at the same time, it creates a sort of weird relationship. We use technology in that way, or I use technology, to suddenly have this very personal relationship with a living thing, which of course has not a real voice, but because of this, I feel connected. And, maybe from a hardcore business side, Excel sheet type, return of investment type of thinking, it doesn't make absolutely no sense to spend $50 on a plant which you can buy for $2, yes? But I like it. I think, it's soft capital. I feel connected to it. And I think it shows that although we are obsessed with technology in the day of today, and looking at our iPhones or the Android, it's our second language, our second skin. I don't believe we'll be looking at computer screens so much anymore. Within 10, 15 years, technology is jumping out of it already and becomes a part of the things that we wear, the roads that we drive on. And I'm interested in that, how to use tech to make environments, to make cities more human again, more smarter in that way. And so in that way, we've always been working on these kind of projects. This is Lotus. This is basically what I do the whole day in the studio. Testing. So the notion of nature and technology, this is a foil which, based on the heat of your breath, at 37 degrees, folds open, and when it cools down, it closes again. We started to imagine how can we bring back nature in urban cities much, much more, without, putting grass on roofs and trees. That's old school. What is the new way of dealing with that? And thinking about how to make these places happen. And the first chance we got to experiment with that is here in Lille, in a very old, famous church. And the problem in Lille in France is that it has many, many historical buildings, and it spends a lot of time, money, and energy on it. But the problem with these kind of buildings is that nobody goes there. They are disconnected from reality. And the mayor, she is very frustrated about that. So she gave us a call and said, Daan, can you make something that this beautiful old church, early 1700, beginning Renaissance, Santa Marie Madeleine, but bring it back to the people again? And I like that question a lot. So we started working on that and made the first Lotus Dome. This is inside the church. So based on the heat of your hand and the light, it folds open. Where you walk, the light follows you, scanning the building around you, revealing the church, closing when you go away. Interaction between people. Thank you. I like it too, yeah. and what was interesting somehow is that because these churches are quite dark, placing an artwork like this, it's not an object, it creates a new type of landscape. You know, there were people interacting with it while I was there, and of course they had no idea who I was. People who lived there for many, many years, and because they played with Lotus Dome, it created this field, this pattern of light and shadow. And so suddenly they said to each other, like, oh, look at these stone angels there. They're beautiful. And we were like, yeah, hello, they've been there already for 300 years. So apparently you have to first have to hide and then to show. And I think that's extremely important, how to link up the old and the new world together and how to make things connect in a way. I think that's the true role of design, to function as a mediator between that. And to show that tech is not just functional or optimizing an old system, but can be poetry, can be techno-poetry in a way. And I think that's something incredibly fascinating. And so we've always been working with this notion of light, this notion of interactivity, the notion of tactile technology. This is a project we just launched, Crystal, where, like the lecture before me, how can we create cities which are open for people much, much more? But at the same time have the guts to invest in a big vision. This is a location where in Eindhoven, in the Netherlands, a big city, where the old Philips factories were, where they made the light bulbs and things like that. Now factories are gone, people live there, it's housing. And the city commissions us with, can you make the future of lighting? We don't want light like with a normal pillar, we think that's static. What's next? And we created Crystal for them. And what you see here are little rocks of light. But these rocks of light, they don't have a battery or something like that. They get their energy from the ground. So we sort of similar, you know, like your electronic toothbrush, yes, which gets charged wirelessly with induction. This is the same principle. So they lay loose on the ground, and the more you interact with it, the more they light up. I'll just show you. Maybe that's better. Yeah. So this is a permanent piece in Netherlands. Yeah.
I see hundreds of crystal lights. What happens when I touch them?
Can we put the volume up? And so, because where you walk there's light, it's an alternative for public lighting. But because of the rocks are laying loose on the ground, people can share them. And what you see as well in the movie, they make signs and words and put them on social media. One person proposed to his girlfriend. He wrote like, "Marry me," and then got her, and she said yes. Yeah, that was really... I was so disappointed that she didn't wrote yes, but okay, this is maybe me. But what is interesting, people can share them, but of course also steal them, yes? They lay loose on the ground. And so what we do is open source the way you make a crystal like this. It's quite easy. And so people within the municipality or a chip manufacturer or a Google or the municipality of Hong Kong or you name it, can make their own ones quite cheap, and therefore new ones are added in terms of shape, in terms of color, or you can do sound. So you get this ecology of light. And for me this was a very sort of scary project, because suddenly you let go of control as a designer. You don't know what they're going to do, you know, if they make something poetic and you have to let go a bit. But that was something very intriguing for me, to show that public space is not just a sum of walls and doors and cables and benches and things like that, but to give people the freedom to interact with it. How does Facebook Square look like? And this is still up in there. So when you're ever in the Netherlands, you can go and write your own story of light. And so the notion, in a way, of landscape, this is sort of how I'm always hopping between different contexts. I travel a lot, being on the road all the time. But at the same time, suddenly I was driving in a car, and I was so amazed by this landscape we live in. Why is it that when we talk about innovation and mobility, we always focus on this bloody car? Yes, to make it more glamorous or more sexy or more sustainable. But the roads that we drive on daily are sort of completely disconnected from this thinking. Can we not make them more interactive or more poetic or more sustainable? And so it was mentioned in the beginning, we worked on the first sustainable dance floor, a floor which generates electricity when you dance on it, similar to when you have a dynamo on your bicycle. I don't have time for it to show it now, but the notion of sustainability in saying we should do more, not less, is, I think, extremely important in a time like this. And so we started to work on paints, light-emitting paints, similar to the glow-in-the-dark stars you had on your ceiling, yes, when you were a boy or a girl. Going back to the paint manufacturing, taking the poisonous radiant out of it and making it glow up to 8 or 9 hours instead of the 1 hour it is usually now. And sort of created these first glowing lines, which on one hand are functional, are in terms of lighting, so you can see where you can drive or not. But at the same time are, for me this is landscape art in its most radical way. It's sort of the Zen types of lines. So we started this project ourselves. We self-commissioned. And I remember very carefully that we were in our studio. We have a great team of scientists and WizKids, 10, 15 people working together, based in the Netherlands, but also a second studio in Shanghai. And I remember looking at the pilot, at the prototype for the first time, and it worked, and we were really excited about that. But at the same time, I realized, so what? Then they put it in a museum with a sign, "Do not touch." It's come on, I don't want that. This is not me, with all due respect to the museums, of course. But I realized it needed to be placed in a context, yes, to generate a true story. And so what happened was by accident, in a way. I gave a talk for the Dutch government, who was promoting creative industry as a sort of new way of pushing the future, pushing economy, and realized that creativity is the way to deal with this harsh, brutal new world we're going to live in, whether we like it or not. And one of the people in the audience was this guy on the right. And this guy is one of the main directors of Heijmans, a large road manufacturer in the Netherlands. And like many, many, many companies in Europe, they have problems, yes? Business is shrinking, China is coming, can do it a little bit cheaper and faster than Europe will ever be doing it. And so they are looking to innovate, to evolve. But what does that mean for a company like that? How can they negotiate with that? It's a big company, but they need to push themselves next level. And so he saw the lecture and my love for new smart highways. And I remember this like the day of yesterday. He called me the next day at the studio with a very basic, almost banal question, which was absolutely not artistically driven. And it hurt a bit, but it was a good question. He asked, Come on, what did he ask? How much? Thank you. How much for the paint? And I, you know, on one hand, it's a good question because it means he was serious. But on the other hand, I realized immediately I am not interested in products. I am interested in process. I want to learn from you. You hopefully want to learn from me and my team. So I denied telling him the price, mostly because at that time we didn't really know it yet. But after denying it for 3 weeks, you see us on the rooftop here at the headquarters in the Netherlands, where we signed a deal to work together the coming 5 years to make these kind of smart ways happen. Because he knows everything about roads. I know very little about building roads, but I have a lot of good ideas. And they are sort of stuck in sometimes in a conservative thinking. So you need each other to evolve. I like this picture so much because it's sort of, this is innovation, yes? It's not just about design or new technologies or all these kind of things. It's about creating a West Side Story in a way, yes? Of two gangs who don't really belong to each other, but share a common love either way, which in this case is the innovation of this landscape. And it also helped me a lot because we had time, we had a team, so I could not have only one idea, but 20.
The futuristic highway can save energy while improving road safety and will debut mid-next year. Glow-in-the-dark road markings use photoluminescent paint, which charges during the day and can light roads for up to 10 hours at night. The temperature-responsive road paint shows ice crystal patterns when temperatures fall below zero to warn drivers of slippery roads. Interactive lights light up when vehicles approach and dim as they pass by, saving energy when there is no traffic on the road. Wind lights get energy from roadside pinwheel generators. They light up using the draft produced by passing vehicles. Induction priority lanes are layered with induction coils under the tarmac to recharge electric cars as they drive. The various technologies will be introduced in the Dutch province of Brabant starting mid-2013.
And this became really fascinating. So for here we're going back to the paints, because you can drive over paints. LEDs will die within a week. Paints which change color based on temperature, silk screening it on the road. So when the road is slippery, these snowflakes pop up. And when normal weather is, they disappear again. So you see, I'm safe, I'm not safe, things like that. And oh yeah, this is also interesting. So when we convinced the first directors that they have a sort of yellow logo, that if it would be really nice weather, automatically their logo would pop up and disappear again. In the end, we're not going to do that. But anyway, it shows the potential of things becoming interactive, not to show off, but to make information more specific. Only show it when you need it, and show it where you want it to be. And this became, in that way, fascinating. We're realizing the first kilometers this year in the Netherlands, going international next year. And it's interesting because suddenly this conservative road manufacturer transformed. You know, it feels, I'm there suddenly every week, it feels like a different company. Instead of, you know, like price driven, they start to think about new values. They start to win design awards. You know, hello, this is a normal conservative company. But because they have the guts to invest in new ideas and the guts to work together with people like me, they push further. It generates new stories. And they become proud of that. Up to this one.
まずはオランダ、とってもエコな未来計画。
Tokyo News.
オランダで今年話題になっているのは、一部の地域で、スマート高速道路ができるんですよ。電気自動車の充電が、自動に走りながらできる。
走りながらできるの？
はい、そうです。
その他にもオランダでは車の接近を察知して照明が点灯する道路や風力発電を利用した街灯など未来に向けてエコな取り組みが行われています。
If there are any Japanese, I would really be happy to know what they're actually saying because I have no idea. Anyway, so we're building these roads. This is interesting. Infrastructure as a part of landscape, as a part of new functionality of a new economy. But we're also doing the specials, and I just want to share this with you because my heart lays within the arts still. Although I'm this hippie with a business plan. This is a project Van Gogh, yes, famous Dutch painter, lived in the Netherlands around near Eindhoven as well for many years. Made a lot of paintings there. But a lot of tourists go there to see these different locations. But you know, you don't really feel him yet. They have some signs, and there's an app, but yeah, you know, it's not part of this landscape somehow. So the city commissions us, the province commissioned us. Can you make a sort of bicycle path through the different parts where he lived and worked, and make him more experienceable in a way, in the same way like Lidl asked us that. So what we did is sort of chopped up these glowing lines I just showed you in 50,000 little pieces. To the horror of the engineers, which suddenly saw their precious lines being destroyed in these little chunks. But these particles, they glow up to 8-9 hours at night. And we took inspiration of Van Gogh, the famous painting. So this is sort of how my brain works. Yes. And so here, making the first bicycle lanes, which on one hand are energy neutral lighting, a couple of kilometers through the landscape. Also very important is that a huge part of the area is nature, how do you say it? The nature reservoir, protected nature. So we cannot do standard lighting in terms of the animals and the plants. So this is a sort of soft glowing. But we put it in the sort of the patterns of Van Gogh, like you would cycle through a painting, crossing the landscape, different locations, different patterns. Very, basic principle of making new type of landscape. And we make the first test now. It's really like you're sort of floating through the path. So working on these kind of innovation project and design is always, very exciting. And what I experience now, I can tell a success story and people are excited. But you must have this as well. In the beginning, there are always people telling you it's not possible, you cannot do it, etc. That's really, really annoying. And we have that as well, that when I come up with a new idea and you share it with your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your husband or your boss, there is a tendency to reply every new good idea, also starting with 2 words. Not yes, but. Oh, yes, now I'm it's not how much, but they reply it with 2 words, which is, thank you. They always reply with yes, but, ja, maar, and then saying it's too expensive, it's too cheap, it's too nice, it's too ugly, etc., etc. 5,000 reasons to not innovate, to not push it to the next level. And I got really, really frustrated with that. And so instead of me being gray and start to dress in black completely, we designed the first yes but chair. And this is a chair, self-commissioned, yeah. This is a special chair with a little voice recognition right here. And the moment you sit on this chair and you say those 2 horrible, creative, destructive, annoying little words, you get a short but pretty intense little shock on the you-know-what part of your body. And that works, and it's really interesting because now when we have new clients coming to our studio, they're always a bit scared. Are we sitting on one? Yeah. But of course, I also have yes, but in me. Yes, I think everyone, and sometimes it's good to be rational and self-critical, but at the same time, I think we should be open. And moving away from the yes but mentality is one of the key things. To conclude, one of the radical new projects we're working on, after Smart Highway, I got the taste in my mouth of saying, let's take social issues and high tech and merge them together. Smog, Beijing, well, you know this even better than I do as a European guy. This is CCTV tower of REM, of OMA, Rem Koolhaas. I was in Beijing. This was on Monday. On a good day, I could still see the building. and on Tuesday and Wednesday, there was this sort of layer of smog in it. Sorry? Sorry? Special? No, this is real. This is real. I saw it with my own eyes. So, and if you want to go to Beijing, you still see it there. And at the same time, the smog is becoming a more and more problem. Shanghai last week as well, schools are being shut down, etc. So it's weird that on one hand we create technology to liberate ourselves, to travel, to explore the new world, to make cars and things like that. But on the other hand, the machine is sort of, they're striking back. They create side effects which we cannot control anymore. And we have this in Europe as well. It's in every, industrial evolved country. You have these kind of effects. Also because it's part of the culture. Yes, this is Beijing a couple of years ago, where a lot of the parts were still quite generic and anonymous. But now I see these things popping up. People start to personalize it. It becomes a part of their cultural statement. But because of this, I thought this was interesting. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not there. Can we not use that as a tool to design? Yes. And we had a lot of experience with this sort of electromagnetic fields, which charge electrical cars when you drive over it. And also this principle of when you have a balloon and you make it static, it attracts your hair. Yes, you know that principle. And we said, can we not sort of apply this to smog, to particles? Can we not sort of, statically charge them and sort of suck them to the ground? And we started to work on teaming up with a company which works a lot with air purifiers on hospitals. And saying, okay, we know it's possible indoor. This is a technological part. It's a nanotech. You charge with ions parts positively, and then you have a negatively charged part. You blow air through it, and that's how you purify the sky. But what if we do this large scale, city scale, park scale, and you get something like this? So you have a park, smog. This could be anywhere in China. Or India, if you want. Yeah. And by using the particles positively, you attract the smog downwards, cleaning the air locally. And with a little bit of luck, you can see the sun again. And, yeah, I feel the yes, but. Yeah. What I think is important, this is not the answer for smog. Of course it isn't. That's clean industry, new cars and things like that. And of course, the city of Beijing in this case is working very, very hard on it to make this happen. But at the same time, these plans take a lot of time to be implemented. This is something we can do a park of 50 by 50 meter, make an energy neutral, safe device in the ground, which sucks up the smog and creates these holes of clean air. So with a little bit of luck, you can see the sun again. I like this. It's sort of saying this is new world, this is old world. What do we need to do to make a whole city like this? It's sort of an incentive for this new future. And right now we're discussing with the government in order to make this happen with the goal to have a first park smog-free in 2014. But still, okay, so then we have these smog particles which we're sucking up. And it's really, really disgusting when you see it. Do they have this in my body? But the smog particles, we can throw it away as industrial waste. But yeah, that would be a shame. Can we not do something with it? So we're sort of working with smog rings. This is when you compress the smog a little bit. The machine does that already. This is 1 by 1 by 1 centimeter smog, equivalent to 1 by 1 by 1 kilometer smog dust. So you can make sort of smog rings, which you can share or sell as a souvenir of how this old world looks like and the new world could behave. And also, we did the first test this week, and we're really excited about that. I realized that, this is a question to you, when smog is carbon, yes? What happens when you put carbon under high pressure? You get? Yes, thank you. So we're working now, I would love to team up with a good Chinese brand and make the first smog jewels and sort of showing that if we engage with reality in a creative, open way, there are so many new ways of exploring this brave new world. So to conclude, and then we are open for questions. Heather, she's still alive. I checked 2 weeks ago. It sort of shows that when we merge the worlds of innovation with imagination, yes, if we merge the worlds of pragmatism and poetry, and use technology not just as something distant, but as something to personalize, to explore new ways of dealing with reality, things can become really, really exciting. And I'm looking forward to explore this all together with you guys. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Daan.
Thank you.
That was really wonderful. I love the optimism. I love the energy and the creativity.
Yeah, you have to be.
Especially this idea of taking a problem that we all can see, and then turning it into something precious, turning it into something we can visualize. A kilometer of smog turning into even a condensed version of it, or even something you could sell, a diamond or the most amazing.
Yeah, and I think, like that's for me real design, not only chairs and lamps and tables, but to design to improve life, yes? And I think government is doing its job and everybody's searching, but it needs young creative people like you to question, to come up with new proposals. If there's ever been a time in maybe in the evolution of cities, there's never been a greater desire for new ideas, new creativity as today. So this is playground for you, yeah? You can come up with proposals, and that is, I think, very exciting.
So I think the chairs in the audience are actually specially rigged to accept questions. So I think, could we have a few questions from the floor?
Yeah, please. I want to have at least 3 questions. Come on. Come on, otherwise it's just me talking. Yeah, please. Yes, you can have a diamond. Yeah.
I like your idea about improving life, but it seems like there's a lot of technology behind your, to realize your idea.
True.
Which organization or school or lab is backing you up?
Well, I have my own studio. So it's a team of 10, 15 people of software, electronic engineers, artists, architects, and they are sometimes Dutch, sometimes Chinese.
Like the...
and with each specific project, like the road project, we team up with a road manufacturer. With the smog project, we team up with a company who knows everything about purifying air, and with Chinese government. So each project, we make a dialogue with a different corporation. And this is very important because I want to be quite small. Because then I can be hybrid, I can do different things. But you need to team up with bigger organizations to have the impact.
But how you could persuade them to trust you? You're so young.
Thank you.
Normally they don't trust you because you're not too young.
Well, we have this old guy in the studio. We sent him. Hello. No, okay. So I have 2 types of clients. The ones who believe in this brave new world, and these are the musea, the cultural institutions, the private collectors, and they understand and they want to. And this is very interesting, of course, but scale is different, yes? And the other are, I don't want to be unpolite, but the ones who are a bit desperate, yes? The ones who realize, hey, shit, this old system is crashing. The rules don't apply anymore. Should we start a Facebook page? Like what should we do? And not that I know everything, of course I don't. But the desire for change, yes, comes either from love or from realizing that the old system is not working anymore. So that's how we negotiate with them. And I think it's a sort of a combination of poetry and being very practical, that's why corporations want to work with us. Yeah. What was your second question? What was your second question?
The second question is, to run a project, you need to finance it. Yeah, and it seems like your innovative idea take quite, it needs time to develop.
No, you're absolutely right, and thank you for addressing that, because this is a laboratory. This is a project of 10, 12 months, where in the beginning there is no product, yes? You cannot buy it. The smog machine is not there yet. So people have to invest in research and development. You're absolutely right. Fortunately, there are more and more people who are interested in being part of the process, because if they invest in process, they are the first, yes? They are part of it. And if they're interested in product, then more people are, because then it's already there. But you're absolutely right. To find cities or clients who have the guts to invest in something which in the beginning is a little bit unknown is one of the key questions. But we have a big track record. So yeah, I think I would never propose something which I would never believe could not happen. Yes? If it's a healthy balance between my time and energy, that's the second question. But,
and it's, in some ways it's already happening, but only on the internal side of the buildings. I mean, you're partnering up with manufacturers who make it for spaces like this, but then bringing that technology out to the city. And that's where the level of innovation is really happening.
Yeah, it's a level, and it's also never underestimate when you go to a company or someone who's good, a craftsmanship, a craftsman or woman, and you say, hey, let's make this, and they become proud. They are co-owner of that idea. They bring their girlfriend to show the prototype, you know. And I don't want to sound naive, but that creates such an incredible, powerful push, which helps enormously. Yeah.
Could we take another question?
You show a lot of examples of successful projects, but I wonder, like...
When does it go wrong?
Yeah, exactly. Because many times when you have good ideas, they kind of not have a technology that can back that up and can be put on hold and develop later, or sometimes it fails. So can you tell us about your failures?
Well, you know, like I believe that if I can imagine something, and I mean not as a dream or as a fantasy, but I can imagine something and take principles from nature and say, oh, what if we apply this to different contexts? Then you have a sort of feasibility test and you try it out in a studio. You make a first prototype, you make a first test. How do I answer this? So we would never launch a project if we would not have the notion, hey, this could work. But yes, you're right. And what I see when you talk about innovation and new designs, a lot of people want the new thing, but in the old way, with the old rules, with the old risks and things like that. And that's of course not possible. So it takes a lot of self-investment, but at the same time, the moment we have something prototype which works, then everybody wants it. So you need to be on this edge. So it goes wrong when it doesn't get implemented, when it's being put in the archive and people don't care about it. So this is either a client who loves it and falls in love with it, or us pushing it. But of course, I have many ideas which are still not possible yet, and this is frustrating. But yeah, that's exciting. It's a creative struggle. Yeah. I think, you know, on one hand, it's to have good ideas and opinions, but it's even more important to make proposals, to say, hey, what if we would do this, or why are we not doing that? And people are very, very sensitive for that at this time, either for hard capital reasons or for soft capital. Yeah. And I feel, to conclude, that China, Shenzhen, Beijing and Chengdu and Shanghai, the real innovations will not happen in a company so much anymore, somewhere in the West Coast, in the USA, but will happen on a city scale. The future of food, the future of health, the future of energy, the future of mobility. And so, but you need to have different teams of different disciplines working together and have crazy guys like me. and then a business manager says, yeah, Daan, but you need to push each other a bit more, I think.
Yeah, I truly feel the fearlessness in your work and the ability to really make almost impossible ideas happen.
Well, I think, but we all have that. You know, when we are a boy or a girl, we go outside and we play. Yes, we customize and personalize the world around us. We build tree huts, or we make stuff with Lego, or so this notion of personalizing the world around you is part of us. Then you go into the real world, and suddenly people say, "Oh, it's not possible, and you should not do it." And I never believed in that so much, and. You can run a successful company on that. I think, to be honest, the companies who will not do it will shrimp very rapidly. Please, last question.
The last question is...
I'm very inspired by your journey. Your journey is very important to me. One question about brain. It seems to me you are happy with the business plan. I am a little bit like you. I want to be able to use my right brain and my left brain as well and as much, so that we can dream and implement. We can come up with ideas and make them happen. So I am interested in your creative process and how and when it switches to implement it. How do you make these two brains work?
Thank you. Yeah, I think, when you have an idea, it's always the sort of, and I think your question was related to that as well, when does it go wrong? It's always a sort of a taste in your mouth, but you don't know the ingredients. And you start to read, to write, to travel, to talk, and are we making a quiche Lorrain or a pancake? And this is a process of research which you need to do with several people, make prototypes, move away from opinions and emails, and build stuff together, and edit, say no many times to create a good yes. Ignore with love the people who say yes but too often. Again, you should be critical, but not in that way. And believe, invest and believe in your own dreams. And the context and things like the money and things like that, they follow from that. I really believe in that. Yeah. I think you do too. Yeah. In the end, that's what this is. Yes, we are at a design week. That's our real capital, so to speak. And I think the design scene, or the art scene, or the architecture scene should claim that future much, much more, because we're good at that. We know how to be creative. We know how to materialize. We know how to work together. So let's be more proactive in that. And we'll have completely different cities in 10, 15 years. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, cheers.